Okay, we are back in full force. We got Scott today and Giancarlo. Welcome back to the Let's Talk About It podcast. Thank you for joining me, guys. We had to call put the bat signal up, get an emergency podcast today because there's some big news with the James Harden trade. So yeah, let's just get into it. I'm just gonna remind everyone what was part of the trade, and then we can just talk about it. So it got flirted with for a really long time, but James Harden did successfully go to the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe the craziest part, I don't even know what the craziest part is of this trade yet, but the craziest part is the Nets still have Kyrie too and Kevin Durant. They sent the Rockets, so it was a 4-team trade, which doesn't come every day. We were just talking before we came on here that 2021 has just been kind of chock full of out the gate surprises. But the Rockets got Oladipo from Indiana, Dante Exum, Rodion Kurucs, 3 first-round picks from Brooklyn, 1 of Milwaukee's first-round picks, and then 4 Brooklyn first-round swaps. The Nets got Harden, obviously, and then Pacers get Karis LeVert in a second-round pick, and then the Cavs, which I'm sure Scott will have more to say about, got Jared Allen and Taurean Prince.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna turn it over to you guys and tell me.
Cavs won the trade, dude. Cavs won.
Okay, so you want to do that first? Who do you think? Who do you think we can do both with the Nets on the table and the Nets off the table? But who do you think benefited the most from this trade?
Cavs. They got the biggest return for relative to what they put in my opinion.
Well, yeah, they were just kind of standing there, right? And they're like, "Hey, do you want Jared Allen?"
Okay.
What did they really give up? A pick? Was that it?
A 2022 Bucks first round pick.
Yeah, like.
Oh, so that's how the Bucks pick is there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a steal for them.
Yeah. I guess my only comment on the Jared Allen thing, we could talk about this right now, is I'm just really bummed for him. I think everyone that we named, all those teams, Rockets is a little bit more murky, but I feel like everyone almost won that trade, and the loser of this trade is Jared Allen, potentially, because
for this year, yes.
For this year, he was about to have a breakout year, and probably play more minutes than a lot of people realized,
and had a shot at the title. Like they were going to be in. They were going to be in it. Cavs not going to be in it probably.
Good point. Yeah, and now he's going to play second fiddle to Drummond, which he might leave next year, or the Cavs might let him walk. But at least for this year, where it was kind of better situation for him, where DeAndre was kind of like the fake starter, and I really felt like when we got into the weeds in the playoffs, Jared Allen would get a lot more playing time. That's not going to be the case in the Cavs situation. They're not going to be like, okay, you know what, Drummond, come off the bench, or like, yeah, we're going to let Jared Allen run the show tonight. One, because he's just been playing really good, but also, it's just Drummond. It's not kind of twilight hours DeAndre Jordan. So that sucks for him, definitely. So you're sticking by Cavs. Came up the most, Scott. I mean, they gave up the least for sure, at least looking at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, my tier list would be Cavs, Pacers, Nets, Rockets.
Okay,
so Pacers got LeVert.
Okay, so that's interesting. Nets weren't even the top 2 teams mentioned that 4-way trade.
Yeah, like it just the Rockets, like Hall depends too heavily on like the Nets' performance, like as a team. I think like all those picks could just be back end first if all 3 of those guys decide to stay in Brooklyn and just run it for 3 years.
So for you, how much did it take up the meter in Brooklyn getting James Harden?
Well, I don't think it improved their team like that much. Like in terms of because if they lose so much depth,
right,
like they already lost Dinwiddie for the season.
right,
Now they're giving up Levert, who's just an
Which
insane
was-
bench scorer,
which was
and
big, yeah. And then they lose Jared Allen.
Jared Allen, who basically became a starter.
I mean, they basically gave away 2 starters.
Yeah, I
in
mean
my
they just
eyes.
yeah.
It,
I
like,
mean
only because Kyrie's on that team, Karis LeVert is not a starter. You know what I mean?
Right.
In a sense. I mean, they were playing Dinwiddie instead, but I mean, it's probably smart because having Karis come off your second unit is incredible. But yeah, I mean, he is ready and looks super solid. And then yeah, Jared Allen was their starting center, and they gave him away too.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense they got rid of a center when they get James Harden on the team and D'Antoni's fucking in the front office. That like makes sense to me. Do I agree with it? No. Especially when you consider like how good Jared Allen has been as like just like I don't know, just the offense seems smoother with him in it.
And he adds defense. Like the block shotting's real with him.
Yep, totally.
I was thinking, I mean, case for the Nets, because I do really like, I think Cavs for me, best value, like Scott said. I don't know if I'd say they won the trade because
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, no,
That's
I
a good
think
way
that's
to put
more
it.
of what I agree with you.
Best value.
I also like the Pacers moves, and we'll probably talk about them next. But I think if I had to say who won it, I'm still going Nets just because of what they did, like of what they were able to land.
Is like a full Pep. Sorry, G. Is there like a full 2-liter Pepsi spilling out on your carpet right now?
No, I'm moving, so there's just shit everywhere.
And it's falling.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
I
Go ahead.
didn't even hear it.
It spooked me. That's why, because I like saw it and I was like, no. It's a piece of technology, but it's fine.
But yeah, so I'm thinking. So with the Nets, I agree that they lost the depth, which was like a major strength for them, especially like from what we had seen. Their second unit was like, I mean, could definitely hang with teams' first units, I think. But I still like what they did because I feel like when it gets to playoffs, like you're just rolling with like 7-8 guys. And so like if they're looking at it and they're like, all right, we start DeAndre Jordan, but maybe he doesn't like close games. Maybe they throw like Jeff Green in there and like go small, and they play this kind of like small ball action with like Kyrie, KD, Harden, and then they like keep Joe Harris in there and have Jeff Green. So where they're like this kind of in that D'Antoni thing where like we don't really have a big, but we're just going to go with it because this offense is terrifying, and just go for it. And like to me, I was wondering how much of Dinwiddie's injury kind of like played into their willingness to like go for it. Because if they had Dinwiddie, they might have just been like, we think our depth is enough and we can just throw guys. We got scoring nonstop. We think we can just have guys constantly off the bench and have 3 legit scores at all times. And then Dinwiddie goes down and they're like, okay, our depth isn't as good now. It's still pretty good. That combined with Harden just completely going nuclear this week, then they're like, all right, we're doing it. But I don't know.
We can't win. Look at my team. Okay? Look at my team. We can't win. They're a bunch of scrubs. Okay? I put on 40 pounds in the offseason. I'm still outscoring everyone on my team. Look at them. Okay? I want to leave. That was so bad. But to your point, I've been hearing more things that Kyrie may potentially be done for the season or may miss substantial time. And I think that's the other thing that was just like, okay, yeah, we need to do this because it's more of like a bargaining chip for KD to stay and still have a chance at like being competitive because you got 2 MVPs, you got 2 of the most prolific scorers in the last decade on a team. but also it's kind of like, please don't just bail out after this because this experiment didn't work because Kyrie's a nutcase, you know,
I think that's fair because
which is, I don't know.
unpredictable.
I don't know what the validity is to that, but you can't disprove the fact that Kyrie has missed multiple games in a row for undisclosed reasons. You know what I mean? And that's got to be worrisome. So yeah, I think you're right. That definitely propelled things forward to make this trade happen. And then yeah, I think KD was just texting Harden, and I was like, just go take a crap on the reporter's desk, and then
fuck your whole team, dude. And then
there's no way you can go back to that locker room. Like he literally made he did his final move. That was his final move, and he was like, I am just gonna
checkmate. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
You guys
that was his
suck.
final chess move. He's like, you have to move me now because I just literally
Now everybody hates me. So
everybody
GG.
hates me here. I just in the locker room and in the city, and I just dogged everyone on national television. There's no way I can go back in that locker room and just keep playing now because you know what I mean. And then they're like, okay, well, shoot. And then all right, let's do it. Let's just do this trade. And then it happened like right after that game. The papers were drawn up. So yeah. So I don't know. It's I tweeted something the other day and I was like, what a difference. And then like in parentheses, I was like, wait, it's only been 2 weeks makes. Because that's but that's honestly how I felt like about multiple things, you know what I mean? Just a lot of things that have been going on in the world, and something happened in my family just recently too that we heard about, and it's just like, man, I mean, not that I expected it to be all rainbows and butterflies, but it's just like it's so much of stuff is still happening, and it's not even that much amount of time. And then the Harden trade news broke after being kind of dangled in front of us for a while, and it's just like, wow, okay. And then the whole Westbrook Beal swap, which we never even talked about either. It just happened. We didn't even get to talk about that because that was so fast.
Wife swap, dude. It's
Yeah, basically, they swapped, and yeah, and then now Harden's already on another team. So, but okay, but to recap, you're still saying Nets.
Yeah, just like,
right.
I mean, the scoring, assuming Kyrie like decides he wants to play or whatever is going on with what's happening with him, I want to see it. That's part of it too. I just want to see it.
Yeah. I saw like a meme where someone was playing 2K and just like it said like Brooklyn on offense, and it was just like the character just like doing handles for like 35 seconds. That's it. I mean, I don't know whether Harden coming is gonna help or hurt Kyrie coming back either. Like, he's such a loose cannon. Like, it could actually be like, oh shit, we got Harden now. Like, all right. But like, it's just as likely as it could be like they went and got Harden and I'm here. What the fuck? Like, I'm out.
It's like you just don't know. Like, I don't know. Either of those sound realistic to me. I'm like, yeah, you could convince me either way.
That would be the most Kyrie thing to do, is like you completed Exodia, and then Kyrie was like, I don't want to be a part of this. This is stupid.
I mean, he did it with LeBron. Like, literally had Exodia.
He at least finished the season, but but yeah, you're right.
But I mean, it just shows that he has a penchant, for not really giving a shit about like being loyal to any type of faction in the NBA besides his own whims.
Yeah, well, it's tough when you're a person like that, because when you're that strong of a contrarian, or at least believe that you are, you have to go to great lengths to reinforce that stance. You know what I mean? And like Kawhi did, in our eyes, the good guy thing by not joining LeBron and then being the the
just
counter
Paul George
in LA and going to the other Los Angeles team. But Kyrie could be the ultimate like weird
Can
guy.
you imagine that if Kawhi joined AD and LeBron?
Yeah, I mean,
That would have just been dumb. Like, you just cancel the season. Just cancel it.
Yeah, I mean, and they're doing fine, right? I mean, yeah, they're still top of the West. LeBron, I don't even think he's missed that many games. People were like, "Oh yeah, he's
AD's
gonna."
missed more.
Yeah, I was
100%.
gonna say, like not actually like actively paying attention. I was gonna say I think AD has missed more games than LeBron, to start the season.
That's been a big surprise because it just seemed like they were like, we just finished the bubble. We had no off season. There's no way we're coming out swinging. And LeBron was like,
mhm.
no, I'm good. Like, I'm fine. I had a month off. That's enough for me. Let's
Yeah,
go. It's like, what? Like, how?
yeah, I don't like yeah from a fantasy standpoint because originally I did draft LeBron and I didn't fully buy in to that. Everyone was like trying to make panic sell articles and like he's not gonna play and he's never gonna play back to backs. Even when he plays, he's gonna play like 19 minutes, you know. And I was like, the LeBron is a freak show, man, and especially when everyone's looking at him like, oh, you're gonna take the beginning of the
Yeah.
season off, right? Wink, wink. He's gonna be like, no, I'm not. Fuck you guys. Like, you know what I mean? Because
You
he's
can
so
just
petty
reverse
like that.
psychology him like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like he might have actually wanted to, but he's so petty with stuff like that, which in just from my perspective, I feel like he is petty. And anyway, that I think he definitely took that as fuel to be like, no, I'm gonna play these games. Like AD, you can chill if you want, or if like you're still kind of banged up from the finals, that's fine. But I'm gonna go out here. I mean, my team's better now anyway. Like I just have to be LeBron. Sometimes I just have to catch the ball on the post, take 2 dribbles, suck a double team, and make a sweet over the shoulder pass to Wesley Matthews in the corner, and then collect my assist and trot back on defense. You know what I mean?
And I think we've
So.
seen that from him before. Like, when he's all in on his team, like when he loves his team,
Mm,
he like there's no breaks, there's no like half-assing it. It's like he's all in. It like those Cavs teams the second time when he was like, these guys kind of suck, and he would just kind of like not play that hard. And there was like that one time when he was like, I'm just gonna go down to Miami for like a couple weeks, like I'll see you guys later. It was
mm,
some like, I don't even remember what season that was, but they were struggling and he was kind of struggling and he's just like, I'm gonna take some time off, I'll be back. And everyone was like, okay. But
mm-hmm.
this year it's like he seems to like his guys. Like there was that play when he shot the corner three and like turned around to the bench, and it's like, I feel like I don't see LeBron do stuff like that. Like,
I
True.
there was like dialogue. It was a no look three that he shot,
yeah, it was
and like
awesome.
yeah, they were going off because he didn't even look and tossed it in. Dennis
Yeah.
Schroeder told him like bet him that he would make it, and he's
Yeah.
like, all right.
And yeah, the game's so easy with him for him, and when you surround him with good players, because that's the thing too. Like you gotta be stoked, even as LeBron. Like yeah, you won, but you gotta be stoked because we all agreed that their team got better from last year to this year. So you gotta be stoked with like, okay, like I was cool with my team, we won, and then it's like, oh shit, now we have Marc Gasol, just playing limited minutes, but playing his role super well. We know he won't do dumb stuff. He's pretty decent on defense. He'll make good passes as a big man. We got Dennis Schroeder, who's coming off kind of like a tear, to be honest. Like he kind of showed his skills in Atlanta, then went to the Chris Paul Academy and put up big numbers and helped that trio of guards like make a run at the playoffs. And now he's on the Lakers. And so yeah, you got to feel good about like yeah, our team is sick.
Yeah, and your Dwight Howard became Montrezl Harrell, so
Exactly. And he just,
cool.
in terms of just being better, he's also just this crazy, like, energy guy, and that's another thing that could maybe have the vibes up is Montrezl's always talking shit, always hyping himself up, always hyping other people off from the bench. And when you get to that point, it's very hard. I've never really been there myself, but when you get to the point where you're on a team or like doing a competitive thing with people and you're the shit and you're having fun like trouncing on people because you know this shit, like there's no better feeling. He wants to, why wouldn't you want to play? You know what I mean? Like that's,
Yeah.
I think we just solved its riddle. Is like you were saying, G and Scott, like if the team was worse, it's easier to be like, you know what, I am gonna sit out a little bit. I'm tired. We made a big run. We're champions. I'm older now. But he's like, no, I want to run on the floor with Montrez and and everyone and
Jared
just
Dudley
dude.
on the bench, being a leader.
Shout out to
Locker room.
So I watched I think it was the first of the back-to-back of the Chicago Bulls versus the Lakers, and the Jared Dudley came in with like 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and then is a Chicago broadcast, and like, Dudley? You're like, oh, Duds is in. You're like, wow, that's really early for Dudley. I was like, shout out Chicago, trying to find some
like,
shade.
what's the score? Is it single digits right now?
Are the Lakers up by a Dudley right now?
Yeah, they're like, oh, a surprise showing.
That's the thing that we've been doing is we're putting player names to like a unit of like stats. So like there's a meme from our fantasy league where this guy was trying to sell Evan Fournier and he just kept saying 20 a night. So like a 20-point game is a Fournier now.
So that's a metric, yeah.
So now we have a Dudley, which is like a third quarter exit for your starters.
I think if Fournier could catch on, he had a Fournier in 12 game.
Yeah.
But okay. So for me, yeah, let's do. So you talked about the Cavs, Scott. G, you talked about the Nets. So, one more thing about the Nets. So they built their big toxic three, right? KD, Kyrie, and Harden. And David told me today when he heard about the trade, he said, and I quote, "Nets doomed. KD most level-headed on the team."
That's true.
I want to take a minute to just talk about that. Shout out David for bringing that up, because we know the game of basketball is about putting the ball in the basket, right? And KD is just effortless. It's actually kind of just mind-blowing. I haven't even watched a lot of the games. I've just seen some clips. But coming off Achilles injury, he is moving like he's moving normally. He's hitting shots. He's hitting runners. He's hitting deep pull-ups. And it's just the way the ball is falling through the net is just I don't know. It's just like it's just crazy. It's kind of it was the same way I was feeling with Paul George before he broke his leg. Like the shot is just water. It just has that weird hit sound. It's just like almost like just hits and falls through at the same moment.
Like a samurai, like slicing a droplet of water.
It's insane.
Falling from the sky or some shit. Like,
yeah, and we know that at each of their positions, Kyrie went on the floor and playing and not like taking a sage break. Kyrie, Harden, and KD are some of the most threatening elite scorers at their position. But we also know that basketball is a deeply mental game. Not necessarily about how you play it, but what's going on in your head, and your confidence really, really affects how things translate out on the court. And I think what David brought up is actually a really good point. And so I want to ask you guys, like, how much do you think that intangible of just like that potential locker room when they lose, or who's taking the last shot? They're supposed to all be buddies too, which could help. But like, how much does the fact that they are kind of like mentally fragile and known to take these departures either on social media or physical departures to strip clubs to, not fully always be engaged in the game, or certain little things and comments can take them out of the game? How much do you think that's a potential problem for the Nets?
I mean, a potential problem, I think it's a huge potential problem. Like if it goes off the rails, like it could get ugly, because we've seen them as buddies so far. More just Kyrie and KD because they've been together, but like we know they're friends and that's great. But it's always been what happens when shit hits the fan, and like you lose a game that you weren't supposed to lose. You get down 3-1 in a playoff series. Like you drop game one of a playoff series, something weird happens, and it's like, okay, we got to like come together. And that's the part that worries me, because I think they'll be fine in the regular season. When the challenge comes in the playoffs is when it's time. It's nut crunching time. And I feel like they'll be fine. And it's like, I'm not super confident. I definitely could see it going the other way. But my thinking is just that they all play this type of basketball that's like, kind of like if you could just choose how to play basketball, like people would choose like one of their three games, maybe like some Steph in there, but like, it's Kyrie with the handles, KD hits every shot, Harden unbelievable step backs and like can do anything he wants. So like they all play the game so effortlessly that I feel like they can just mesh together because they're like on a similar plane of like, I get how you like to play. I see that. I can understand how you're amazing at that. I'm amazing at this. And we all get it because we do the similar things. That I think is best case scenario. For sure could see it blowing up in their faces.
Yeah. So I think it's just as likely that they flop as it is as likely like that they'll win the championship.
So the Scott Vegas odds are 50-50, either self-implosion or
not 50-50 because I don't think it's like they're 50% chance to win and 50% chance to flop. I just think that like they have so maybe like 30% flop, 30% championship, and then the rest like variable outcomes. Like they traded their whole team away basically. So those three guys can't stay on the floor for the whole game, especially when you consider like Kyrie's injury prone and he's not even with the team, so who even knows what the fuck's happening. KD's off like a really bad injury, and he hasn't really had to like slog through it like yet. I feel like, you know what I mean, like really just grind it. So we don't know how his body's going to hold up to that. So all those like little factors, like aside from them gelling well together, is like something to think about, because when you trade away all your bench depth, like you can't rest your guys as much.
Yeah, and you just traded away your key six man too.
Yeah, so I think that like the ceiling is so like even if they make the finals, like what does that team do against AD?
Yeah,
how do they stop AD?
DeAndre's not stopping him.
No,
he's not. I mean,
Giannis can't even stop AD. Like last year's Defensive Player of the Year, I'm pretty sure. Can't stop AD. He couldn't stop LeBron either. So you got those guys, and LeBron's not afraid to work in the post. Like he did that against the Bucks in the regular season, and it was just automatic. Who are they gonna? And that just eats up, clock. How are they gonna be able to keep pace when it's not just, deep three back and forth? If someone's like eating up the whole shot clock, if a team's eating up the whole shot clock every possession, like they're gonna win.
That's what worries me. And I think I texted you this, G, but I said like the way through the Nets is in the middle, because when you get to these stretches in tight games, like not as bad of an example, but he's going to get like the Marvin Bagley treatment. Like so far this year, Walton has not gone with Bagley even like early in the fourth quarter, but definitely not in crunch time in the fourth quarter, because he just doesn't trust him to make the right move and feel like he can offensively help them too. And, DeAndre's going to get played off the floor, but it's funny because so many, in response to the Lakers team, so many people picked up like important big players, Ibaka and Gasol, for example, went to the two Lakers teams. Detroit only sucked up bigs. And at least there's still Drummond in the Cavs. That team's not going to compete. That team's going to be nice, I think, but they're not going to compete so much this year. But, everyone has that big.
Kyrie goes back to the Cavs for Drummond, dude. Whoa.
Huh.
That would actually be kind of sick.
That would actually be a little sneaky play. But that's what I'm worried about is like you need a big um and I don't honestly still feel like they have it, no disrespect to DeAndre Jordan. And then
I mean, he
if
had
you
his time. He can take a little
yeah,
disrespect.
yeah. And we all know if you really, really in your mind, in your heart, trying to make a run at the championship, you know you have to meet the Lakers. Something can go wildly wrong, but ultimately you have to. And you know Anthony Davis is still on that team, to Scott's point, and you don't want to be like, okay, because KD is going to guard LeBron, and he has, and I feel okay with that. But still, it's like, what are you going to do about Anthony Davis? I mean, no one in the league can back to multiple plays stop him. Like, we understand that, but also you can't like just get shredded by him by design.
Yeah, and I mean, they basically are running back the Harden style of no big offense.
Mm-hmm,
They're running that back again,
mm-hmm.
In Brooklyn. And I feel like that just can't. That works when you're automatic from three and you set the pace of the game. But if somebody can even get stops on you and then they're just automatic in the paint, and they're setting the pace, like it can't work. It can't win.
So if I'm the Nets, that's the bet I'm taking. I'm just like, look, we have big problems against the Lakers, especially AD. We know that, but we're just gonna try to outscore you, and that's our chance. Because if they can't, like, they have potential. The 3-point shooting, like, I'll be curious to see like how many threes they're putting up because, I mean, of those two, of Kyrie, it's Kyrie's rim threes. KD will go mid range and Harden threes. So like they have it, they have like a guy for each level, but then all three of them can do all other levels, right? So like they can score from anywhere. And I mean, personally, I don't really think it'll work because like we've seen Harden just lose in the playoffs so much. So my feeling is that they
Who'd they
wouldn't
lose
be
to,
able,
G?
I feel like I don't think they could beat the Lakers. I think like if they meet the Lakers, I think they'll lose. But I think the Nets are thinking we'll just try to outscore them, and we think we can outscore them.
Yeah. It's kind of funny actually because if this happened 2 years ago, this would be a slam dunk. Eh, The fact that Anthony Davis is on the Lakers and they made the trade the year after Anthony Davis won with the Lakers. Obviously, you're going to make that trade. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, big mistake, got Harden, Anthony, but I'm just saying it's just funny timing of the thing because like what you're saying, I would bank on it. Like, we're just going to outscore them. Like, who's going to stop KD, Kyrie, and Harden at all levels? You're not. But in the year that everybody stocked up and picked up bigs to try to match AD in some form, they're like, here you go, Cavs. You want Jared Allen for free? Future like superstar center. Okay. See you later. So it's kind of it's kind of funny because I was thinking about this, and the Nets are like the only team that did both levels of team structure because I was talking to you guys about I love the Nets because they're so freaking deep, right? Like it was a kind of my Clippers dream of like these guys are so deep it's crazy in my opinion and they can guard well and stuff. And the Nets were like that, but then they now managed in 3 weeks of basketball to transform their team into a top three guys, and then it really falls off. You know what I mean? Like an old school style model of like this is how you win a championship. You get these three crazy insane big three guys, and then people's names you might not really know, and then some filler guys off the bench. But once we get to crunch time, you're not even going to see them hit the court.
They loaded up their Harden gun and just sprayed, dude.
So
I was thinking, because I've been thinking about this kind of as we've been talking, and I'm curious your guys' opinion because to me, there's some parallels between the Warriors when they had KD because it's kind of like they have the point guard, Kyrie and Steph. KD is KD in both, and then Harden is kind of like Clay, maybe some more versatile offense, but worse defense.
Mm.
And so like, and then I was thinking like those later Warriors teams when like the bench was it was like pretty thin, to be honest. And like Livingston wasn't Livingston anymore. And it felt like such a stretch. It was like, please, Quinn Cook, like come in and do something. And like,
Leave that man in the arena.
Oh my God.
That's the point where it got to. And so I'm thinking of
that's
it.
back-to-back champion, bro.
Yeah, don't
That's true.
disrespect this guy, man. Okay, he knows how to weasel into every nook and cranny and get carried for a championship. Okay, not everyone knows how to do that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He did. He's 100% on the teams he picks.
That's true. Yeah, it's it's who you surround yourself with. G. Okay, that's how you become successful. It's not
That's
necessarily about you, but it's who you surround yourself with.
I can't fault him. But that's kind of how I'm thinking of this. And like, so it was always like a center, we had like JaVale kind of those later years. And it's like, okay, JaVale is JaVale. He's at best, right? So to me, that's kind of like DeAndre Jordan, where like, yeah, like he's kind of a defensive presence, I guess, but like you're really not wanting to bank on him. So I don't know. I just feel like there's some parallels there but to me, Clay's defense is such a crucial part, and Iguodala's defense, which is another thing that the Nets don't really have.
Well, also, I was going to ask who's Draymond on that team to keep it parallel, because like as much as I don't want to give Draymond too much credit personally, he still does a ton for that team and brings defense. You know what I mean? So, and where's that parallel? If they're missing that too, that seems hard, right?
Yeah, they definitely don't have that, and that's probably, I guess, for all the Draymond stands out there, this is like the time to shine. If the Nets don't make it, it's Draymond stock.
I was just laughing, and it's like when Cook is older, his grandkids be like, "What are those?" And then he's like, "Those are my championship rings. Let's pull up my highlights on YouTube." And it's just him warming up before the game, like only. I'm a two-time NBA champion. But hey,
Yeah, I mean,
he's got the rings.
He does.
So yeah, do you think like, could you see it? Like, best case scenario for Nets, they're like, we could be kind of like Warriors 2.0?
I think they're Warriors 1.5, you know what I mean? Like, or 0.75. Like you were saying, they're missing those little pieces that really just like hold the thread together.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
How
they had them before they traded them.
Because
but
who's their fifth starter? Is it Joe Harris? You would think.
I think so.
You go Kyrie as the real point guard by design, and then Harden is like the shooting guard, and then you kind of have like, I don't know, maybe have
like Jeff Green the 4, like.
Yeah, I would just go like KD at 4.
Yeah, you go KD as the power forward, and then you have DeAndre, and then you have Joe Harris, I guess, which isn't also not that great for defense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it might just, I think. I mean, everything about this is bold moves. You know what I mean? Even the trade. I mean, Nets gave away everything for their future to make this happen. And now it's just like, let's just have a shootout. Nets games are probably going to be hyped to watch. It's going to be like playground style where you get, it's going to get a little and one flavor where you're going to see some crazy things happen. Nobody's playing defense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you're going to have really ratcheted scores. And on certain nights, that the scoring pummel Avalanche can still catch people. But yeah, it's always.
I think you can catch almost everybody still.
Yeah.
I think that the only way they lose is if you can just control their pace. Because if they're just shooting whenever they want, and like
it's gonna be tough.
They're running you. Really, what can you do? Like it's automatic from 3 of their guys, and they're all good enough to get each other the ball if they're like schemed against, right? So it's like
Mhm.
it's not like a Giannis situation where it's like, all right, 3 bodies on him. Let's hope he gets it out to the right guy. It's like, no, all these guys can ISO you up from any point on the floor, and then they can make moves if they do get clamped on. So it's like, and you can't even clamp on KD. He like his arms are longer than any humans in the universe. It's like he can shoot over anybody, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, whenever he wants to, he's shooting. It's just whether he makes it or not,
So
which is
yeah,
insane.
like I don't know if there's any other teams that can slow it down other than the Lakers. Like I can't think of any off the top of my head.
So let's go back to you, Scott. When is the time? So you're saying now is the time for the Bucks team and all their East teams to be afraid?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the Bucks can beat the Nets, but in 7 games, that's gonna be fucking hard. Just because I don't like, they're not gonna be able to stop Giannis either. Really, like, AD's like more unstoppable, but I don't think they could stop Giannis. But I don't think that's enough.
Not necessarily in standings, but where do you think the Bucks rank in the East now? Because arguably a big part because of this trade, but I feel like the East did get a
Yeah.
lot stronger. So where do you feel like they sit in the power rankings of the East?
Um,
This is tough now, in my opinion.
I still think they're like definitely top 3. Um, it's hard. It's too early. I think like
Mm-hmm.
Joel Embiid's really showing out, which is
Mm-hmm.
like going to be really nasty if he keeps this up. I think Levert's like a slight upgrade to Oladipo, and then Sabonis is just a fucking monster. Like I don't know.
Yeah, and we still have to see if the Heat will come to
They haven't
some
played like a
form.
full roster yet, really.
Right? Yeah,
Like
yeah. I'm not.
Jimmy's been hurt, and then COVID, all that shit. Like
Yeah,
we don't even
COVID
know what the
slide.
Heat really
Same
look
thing.
like.
The Celtics are like 3 games behind everyone because they've had to have all their games postponed because they can't get enough guys on the floor.
Yeah, Celtics with Kemba back. Like there's so many
Mm-hmm.
factors that like no one's really at full strength besides the Bucks right now. They're still, I think, second in the standings, but no one like we don't really know. And they've had some weird losses too. The Bucks have, and they've had some some convincing wins, but like they lost to the fucking Knicks by like 30 points or some shit. Like
Julius Randle,
that was
watch
just weird.
out.
So I think once rotations kind of like for all teams, once the rotations kind of settle, we'll know probably like in a week or 2. I think people have seen what they need to see, and now it's just about executing.
Okay, so for now you'll say top 3. I think that's fine because we need to see how more things happen and see people actually play their teams. How do you feel though, real quick, on just how do you feel about the Bucks team? Because you've gotten like at least 10 games of Drew Holiday in the mix.
Drew's been nice.
How do you feel about the team overall?
I feel like positive. Like I'm optimistic. Bobby Portis has been nice. Like the only absence I'm really feeling is George Hill as like kind of like a almost like third unit like leader. But I don't know. Drew definitely like is an upgrade, and all the steals he gets like and like how he's like way better in transition than Bledsoe ever was because he can actually like hit a layup in
Not
transition.
run somebody over.
Yeah, and not yeah. So yeah, I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think Giannis's game has grown enough.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't take advantage of what he has been able to in the past because people have figured out ways to defend him. So as crazy as that sounds, I think that like if Giannis's game like grew a little better in the off season, like it would be more clear cut, like top of the standings for me. But like,
How do you feel about that, G? Because I share the same sentiment. I'm kind of disappointed with where Giannis's game is at right now in terms of development. Like obviously he's crazy, but how do you feel about that?
So I haven't. My internet is also being really bad right now, but I haven't really watched the Bucks too much yet. So I can't really say. But I trust Scott because you've watched more than I have. But just by the scores, um, like yeah, that Knicks loss was a little concerning because I mean it's fine to lose, I think, to like the Knicks or something, but like getting blown out is a little red flag, I think. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I can't really say.
well, yeah, like you think about the Bucks being like a top defensive team last year, and like the Knicks are just literally all offense, all forwards. The team like
Yeah.
just throw up a million shots and have like really inefficient guys, but the amount of attempts just fucking like even it out, I guess. But like if they can't stop that, they're not stopping the fucking Nets, bro. Like
Yeah, and I do think teams are gonna pull up those games of the Heat Bucks series and just like, okay, this is
three and
what we
D,
need
dude.
to do. Throw it at Giannis, make anyone else score. It helps because Drew's there now, so you can't
He
completely do
has a
that. But
J actually. So
yeah, so but it is going to be difficult because they just ran into the Giannis just ran into the wall the last 2 years, and if they especially, I mean, this is it's kind of like a repeat of what I told Scott last year, but it's higher stakes. And I was like, I don't know, the East is better now. But it's still gonna feel bad for Giannis and the Bucks if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals, and there's a really good chance they don't make it again this year to the finals. And going 1 out of 3 years making to the Eastern Conference Finals, especially not making it back to back, is really tough after he
and
just
then
signed that big
like
contract.
losing like 4-2 after you were up like a bunch of games to the Raptors, and like that was your best shot. It's like
Yeah. So we'll have to see, but yeah, I think to round it out, I think the Pacers look really nice. I think Levert is going to be a nice pickup because yeah, there was like some still kind of weird stuff whether Oladipo said it or not about him still be on the team, and they're still playing good, but now that he's gone and they just got to plug in Levert, even if he
yeah,
comes
two
off the
years
bench.
younger. Like your young core is Brogdon, Sabonis, and Levert. Like you got to be happy about that.
Yeah.
All
And you have
under
TJ
like
Warren coming back
yeah.
at some point, probably next year or whatever. Like they can score, and they are a good example of a team that's not overly flashy, but everyone at their position like plays their position well and knows how to fit in into the offense. So I'm pretty high on that team this year to at least cause some trouble for some teams.
Minor side note on that, I feel like the Pacers have been impressive in the sense of like, I mean, it feels like a million years ago when they lost Paul George, but like they've kind of like handled that fairly well. Like they got Oladipo, which worked out well because he wasn't that great in OKC, but then like was good for them. And then they swung Brogdon and they Sabonis turns out they got him, I think, in that trade too.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah.
it just kind of like I don't know. To me, from going from like you lost your franchise guy that you had some playoff runs with, but then to kind of like judo it into like another good team a few years later, like I'd be pretty stoked if I was a Pacers fan, I think.
Yeah, they're all really young too. Like
That's a good point.
Levert of those guys is the oldest at 26. So
Wow.
that's
How old is Sabonis? 24?
24.
Damn.
And yeah. Brogdon, I think, is 24, 25.
Yeah. That is, they're building something there for sure. And yeah, I think they're definitely going to cause some issues. I know they got slapped last year, but
Brogdon's 28. For some reason, he was a rookie in 2017, so that's why he was an old fucking college player, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, I like that team. I think that was really nice for them. Houston's definitely the biggest question mark, but I like them getting Levert and just gonna keep just pushing the pressure. They lost a couple close games so far, but I do think that their team is pretty solid. They might need a little bit more work on defense. But I just like feeling like everyone's pretty solid in their role and they play their really well on that team. But yeah, I don't know. East is very, it's evening out now for sure. Where both conferences have very strong teams.
Yeah, I'm looking at the standings. I don't think Oladipo is going to stay in Houston. I think like the Heat or like
We'll flip him.
can get him, or maybe like I feel like he'd be interesting on the Suns or the Kings. But yeah, I don't think that he's like on an expiring deal, and he's been kind of diva-y about where he wants to play. I don't think he stays. I think they try to get a little something out of him.
Yeah, that could be interesting. I mean, I know Oladipo did want to go to the Heat, and I don't think Avery Bradley's been very good for them at all since they acquired him.
I think he's starting to, right? Like,
yeah, but he's slowly losing his job, I think, in my opinion, which could open the door for a point guard if they're actually going to, especially seeing like the moves the East made, it might come at the cost of getting, leaving Hero. But if they want to go,
I think they can get Oladipo and keep Hero.
You think so?
I think that Oladipo, he's not worth that much.
Maybe, but I mean,
like he's worth more to a contender than the Rockets. So it's like,
what's Houston gonna ask for then?
I think a couple picks, and
you think they just go the straight picks way?
Well, I mean, the way I see it, you can figure out if Oladipo is going to stay with you by just talking to him. And if that's now or in a few weeks after they try it out. But like, I think he's like, let me look up when his contract. I'm pretty sure it's expiring. And if he's going to walk, they're going to get something for him.
Fair. Do you think they could get Duncan for him?
Yeah, so his contract ends this year. So he's a unrestricted free agent too. So basically he gets to go where he wants to go. Could they get Duncan? Yeah, I mean, like, probably. Duncan in a first? That?
Yeah, they'd probably do that. Okay, that's possible then. I mean, I think you're right. He's probably not going to stay, either make it through this season or definitely like once his contract's up next year, he's probably gonna walk and do something. So, and Houston's kind of just in bail out the
Yeah.
water out the sides mode and figure it out.
You don't want to keep that. You want to get something for him.
Well, you also don't want like two guards coming off major injuries as your
Yeah,
team.
as your starting like pieces
Yeah, that's
to rebuild with too. You know what I mean?
tough.
And
Yeah, I mean,
Oladipo's kind of old. I don't know how old John Wall is, but Oladipo's like 28, so that's like he's entering like the like kind of like the twilight prime era of his career. You definitely can't rebuild with that. In my opinion.
yeah,
Like Christian Wood is a good example of like that was a good pickup for a rebuild.
yeah. That's the shining star of the Rockets right now, and then like everything else is for sale or for consideration. But at least they have him, and he looks like he's going to develop into a really nice player side, no matter who he's with. Him and John Wall
He's been
can,
around too. It's crazy to think about.
yeah.
Bucks
So
had him for a minute.
yeah, it's been a cool,
Unlucky.
cool like comeback for him, or like come up for him by really starting to put the stats down. And I think he'll be a really important part for the Rockets. Kind of the opposite situation from Jared Allen. So he'll have a good year. Oh yeah, do your quick bit, Scott,
Okay.
about how
Oh
you're
man,
bummed.
I mean, he was just playing so well, just eating. He was just eating in all facets of the game.
Scott owns Jared
Um,
Allen in our league.
yeah. I mean, like, he still had good production, splitting time like 50-50 with DeAndre Jordan, like at the beginning of the year. It was like decent production. But when he got the 30 minutes a game, it was like nice. Double every time.
Double every time.
Double every time. And it's really a great pickup for the Cavs. Like they have a super young core of guards.
Yes.
And like it's just he slides in as a really nice piece for the long term. He's a restricted free agent, so whatever anybody offers him, they get to offer him, or they can match it, right? And keep like so I think it was great. The landing spot was great for fantasy, not so much. He kind of gets set back into like where he was at the beginning of the year, maybe even like a little worse. Depends on how it shakes out. It could be like they love what they see and it's like a 50-50 split, I don't think Drummond's the future of their franchise, so they might run Jared Allen a little more just to see what they got, build that chemistry. So remains to be seen, but it just does suck because he got those opportunities, like took them, made the most of them, and then traded instantly.
Yeah. I know that's when me and G talked, I talked about my two regrets of the draft, and they were both Brooklyn Nets players, and they were Jared Allen and Karis LeVert. And then, then come to find out yesterday that they're both going to other places. I don't think it'll affect Karis's value as much. But yeah, for Jared Allen,
I think
definitely.
he'll get a few less attempts
Right.
with the ball, but his minutes will stay, so he'll get more of the limited defensive production that he gets. I don't know if he's good on defense or not. I'm guessing not, but
He actually has been getting like averaging a steal or two, and he's got a couple
so
blocks. Like he had one game with 5 steals.
percents will go up for him. Points will go down a bit, but his points were nuts from what he was.
Well, he was
right?
basically playing for
He was
Kyrie.
like a Fournier fucking a night,
Yeah,
dude.
you could book him for a Fournier a night.
Fournier, book of Fournier.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to come down a little bit, but that's only because he was playing on a team where there should have already been a guy playing ahead of him, but he was out, I don't know, passing out flyers for, I don't know what Kyrie's been doing, but that obviously helped Karis's value.
Flat earthing, dude.
I don't think it's good. Yeah, passing out flyers for the next Flat
he was
Earth
just
event.
done with planes, bro. He doesn't believe in them, so he's just done with the NBA.
If Kyrie just randomly like leaves the NBA, especially when he like is on a team that seems nuts because he just decides he doesn't want to play anymore, that'll be the most like, oh yeah, of course, 2021 thing that you know, what I mean? Like what else could just happen that seems unfathomable that will still happen? Because I feel like he's still live to just say I don't want to play, even though I might be on the most ridiculously constructed team of all time, maybe.
Definitely like goated personalities on the team, for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be real fun when they win.
They need to like film the locker room, dude, and just release it like when they all retire, like fucking The Last Dance, Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
style.
get a Last Dance documentary going just for how weird the locker room is before and after games.
I can't even imagine. Like, just the way Kyrie interacts with like people in the media is just like my team. Like, think about what he says like in his team environment where it's like you can actually like speak your mind more truly as opposed to like the media. Just think of the kooky shit that he could say. Like he's not gonna say on a post game interview like the Earth's flat, lol. But like, could he say that after practice? Fuck yeah.
But if you think about it, James, listen to me, James. If you think about it, what happens?
Strippers are demons, James. They're demons. Stop going to those strip clubs.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year, and the Nets need to start winning though, because with the whole KD resting thing or protocol, and then the Kyrie like I'm just not playing thing, they're racking up some L's, and they already burned through some of their bench and sold off some of their bench, so they need to start.
Landry Shamet needs to fucking step it up.
Yeah, it could be his time now. He's okay-ish on defense, so he might get a little bit more playing time. Yeah. But yeah, I think I have Christian Wood in our league, so I'm excited. I don't think it's gonna create like an explosion, though. I think we're gonna still see some upticks with his columns with the absence of Harden. And then we talked about Levert and Allen. Yeah, nobody has Torian Prince. Somebody has Oladipo, but who knows? He was actually playing kind of decently, so if he stays for the time that he stays on the Rockets, he'll probably still produce.
I don't know who starts in Cleveland, but like Torian Prince could actually get some decent minutes over there.
Larry Nance Jr., dude, 20 points a night.
I don't think Torian Prince is that bad, honestly. He's not like nice, but he's serviceable.
I don't know enough about his game, to be honest, but I don't think he's bad objectively.
Yeah, he's definitely like gonna have a bigger role than he did on the Nets. I'll book that. He had no role on the Nets.
G, can you hear me?
Oh, he's frozen.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
It's a mess. I just miss like big chunks of conversation.
All right.
Yeah, you're having a rough internet go. I know about those. While we have you for a second, talk real quick about your team's been struggling with injuries, but Porzingis played the other night, right? So you have one less injury on your team for fantasy.
Yeah, he had to pick this week to come back, huh?
Yeah, that was a big positive. I needed to see some guys. I mean, you're crushing me anyways, but it was nice to see one of my guys go from injured to not injured instead of the other way around, because it's just been that direction the whole time.
Mhm.
I did chuckle. I think I got at least one trade offer for Porzingis this week, maybe even two. And I was like, no, I didn't
You
hang
guys
on to
don't
him for
know.
the past two
Yeah,
weeks
no
just to dump
fucking
him
shot.
when he came back. It would have to be a tasty offer.
Mhm.
I've been rolling with Maxi Kleber. I need my Porzingis time. But
Yeah, no,
yeah, I was
you got to at least break in
pretty
those
pumped about
shoes.
that. I need my Celtics to come back though.
Yeah.
I'm basically screwed.
Uh, Maxi Kleber has been a disappointment for me so far. I thought he was gonna do okay, especially in the absence of Porzingis.
Yeah,
It's
I
like the
didn't fully hear that.
Maxi Kleber fucking
I don't
sucks.
know. He had a couple good games.
Yeah, no, your team is gonna be scary once you get those bigs back. So I'm glad I could face you before that happens, and with no Jason Tatum, like stars aligned on that one.
Yeah, you're the sleeping dragon team
I
for
needed the
sure.
2 week COVID pause. Uh, hopefully, I wake up soon.
I I know it's been rough. Like I think you have MPJ in our league too, and I have Tatum and MPJ in a different league, and I've just been looking at them, just injury tagged, just positive COVID taste or cases, and it sucks, you know.
Yeah, thankfully, I don't have MPJ, but sometimes it feels like I do because I just have a bunch of COVID guys.
Okay, well, I was gonna to close it out. I was gonna play a game, but I with you, but I think it'll be hard with G. So is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about or bring up for fantasy or for basketball before we go?
Um, I don't know. The NBA is just in a weird spot right now. Like, it's so hard to know where everything, especially after this Harden trade, shake up so many teams, shook up so many teams. Like, it's gonna be interesting next couple weeks.
And then
I
you have the
almost
COVID
wish they
variant.
would. Yeah, I wish they would shut it down, COVID, for a couple weeks, so everyone can just get back, and then we can really see what's good.
I do too, because the I tuned into the Philadelphia game, and it's like the Heat has like 8 people who are sitting out for COVID tracing and COVID protocols, and they're just losing by 20 because Philadelphia has Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid playing.
Oh, one thing I do want to mention is I think Philadelphia would have been a better trade partner than the Nets in terms of what they could get from them.
Yeah,
Like, in terms of the ultimate haul that the Rockets got, I think they could have got a better haul from Philadelphia. I think
yeah,
Philadelphia just didn't want to play hardball, and but like if they get some of the young talent like Simmons, they wanted Thibault and uh, that who's that like guard that kind of just popped off, Tyrese Maxey.
the rookie.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they wanted those guys plus a bunch of picks. I think that's a nice haul. If they could have just got that instead of had to do a 4-team trade and not even get Karis LeVert and Jared Allen,
Yeah.
I think that would have been a better deal.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
But that's my last thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think G said this the first time we talked about it. on a different podcast, but it's just they didn't want to give Harden to the old. Or wait, no, is Morey part of the Philadelphia organization now, or was that the drama? Because I thought they like didn't want to trade with the
I think
Sixers
so. Yeah.
because they didn't want to give their old owner.
Yeah, he's their GM now.
Right. Okay. Yeah, they didn't want to give him Harden again. It would just feel too bad on top of everything that's going on. But I think you're right. Ultimately, it was just an emotional.
Yeah, Harden with Embiid would just be nasty, too.
Yeah. And then
That's an unstoppable duo.
yeah. So and then yeah, you still have like Seth Curry too, like as a perimeter shooter.
He's
outlet.
like banished into COVID shadow realm, dude. Like, where is this guy?
Oh.
he got COVID and he hasn't been around for weeks, right?
Yeah. I know, what a turnaround. Like obviously it wasn't going to be perfect from the bubble, but you had the bubble went so well and you got to flex like whatever 150 days of no positive cases or whatever, and now it's just like complete weeks of games are being missed for certain teams because of positive
It just shows
cases.
that the bubble was such a good idea and like it was so well executed. I think it's less that right now is a failure. It's more that the bubble was so good that this like kind of looks like a shit show. But I think there's no stopping it. We're at like the critical point of just the most cases ever right now.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually. I mean, yeah, it's not even that it's a shit show, but you're right. It's just the bubble highlighted how good they did it and kept it going, and just now it's just so hard to not like be positive. And then if you are, it's so easy to potentially contract it from a teammate or someone in the organization. And then the teams are so small that like you just it's not even, it's just like our fantasy teams. It's like my team is good because I have, or in G's team is good because we have Tatum. Tatum doesn't play. Even if I get to pick up somebody else for his production, like it's not the team, so like Celtics playing no Brown, no Tatum, that's not the Celtics, so it's like even either you miss a whole game and that throws you off, or you field an amalgamation of people that is not your real representation of your team and your strength, and then you get walloped and you just have to take that L and carry it in through the standings through the season. That sucks too, because you can't you can actually swap out potential production easier in fantasy than real basketball too. So it's just
I think that the NBA should probably like temporarily allow rosters to expand a bit, so it's not like they don't have to call off as many games, maybe. But I mean, then the games aren't as competitive, so it's like a toss-up. But
yeah, I mean, pretty soon we're just gonna be watching G League basketball, whether we like it or we don't. With some special guest appearances of like real basketball players. It's kind of, yeah, hopefully it sorts itself out, because you don't want it to be like whoever dodged COVID the best randomly wins, and it's just a freak thing too, because I think some of the teams that got hit, you could argue like are probably really good about it and good about being like everyone follow the protocols, but it just takes one little thing, and then
just takes one strip club visit. And then, wow.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the first time all three of the big three on the Nets don't play. That's gonna be
they're gonna conveniently not have enough players to suit up on those days.
I guess you're right. Oh, Shamit, say that you tested positive because
contract trace Shamit. You were chilling with KD, weren't you?
That's true. Yeah. Which is why you want depth, but
That's why you want that dude. They're just keeping Kyrie quarantined so that when that happens, they bring Kyrie back. Whoa.
do you think there was any game? Last question. Do you think there's any gamesmanship in having Kyrie be weird and miss games to try and help bring Harden to the Nets?
I don't think that was the plan, but I think they probably made the best of that situation, right? Like,
Yeah.
James, come on, bro. Like, look at this, dude. Like, we need you, bro. Like, come. We'll give you whatever you want. Like,
They knew it was bound to happen. They're like, whenever Kyrie starts getting wobbly, then that's when we'll make our move.
And then we'll give him the line to say your team sucks, Dick, James, and then we'll get you. Saving Private James. That's how they did it.
Yeah, they extracted him out of the strip clubs of Houston, so they landed the big fish. Now
you think Brooklyn has good strip clubs? I don't even know. Are there strip clubs in New York? Like, I feel like there's not.
I have no idea. I'm sure there are, but I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
They're probably like underground, like, or something weird. Like, they're not like normal strip clubs, like an abandoned subway shaft or something. Like,
well, James will find them.
Yeah,
I'm
gonna look it up. The reviews for strip clubs, see if he's gonna fucking go Super Saiyan. Because if they're bad. Yeah, if James Harden went Super Saiyan, his beard would like become blonde. That'd be funny. All right, we gotta let G go.
Yeah, we'll let G go.
It's late.
Oh, I just thought of the three pieces of the Exodia are KD's long ass arms.
Sorry, my internet just.
You're good, bro.
James Harden's beard and Kyrie's third eye.
True.
You put those together, and then you have the
Woke
Brooklyn
Zodia.
Exodia.
Woke Zodia.
Woke Zodia. You have woke Zodia. And will that be enough to win a championship? We'll have to find out through the season. All right. Well, G, we'll let you go. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, G, for coming on the podcast, doing the emergency James Harden trade podcast. We'll talk to you guys soon. I think next time we'll talk just maybe like after 20 games, we can just look at all the teams. Maybe we'll be able to answer Scott's question. The question I posed to Scott better about how do these teams look and who's on the race for the bottom. But yeah, thanks guys. Have a good night.
See you guys.